Evelyn Morales pushed her mail cart onto Linden Avenue at 9:10, the same time she always did, the time the sparrows balanced on the maple fence outside number 14, and a narrow finger of sunlight slid between the chimney pots onto the pavement. Routine mattered. It made the mail dependable. Yet for almost a year, Evelyn had been inserting something gloriously unpredictable into that dependable system. Letters with no return address, written in her careful cursive, sealed with plain white envelopes and signed only, "A Friend on the Wind." She had started one gray February after delivering a thick bundle of past due bills to Mrs. Carlotta Gianni at number 32. The old woman handed over a single orange, the only fruit left in her bowl, and said, "Thanks for showing up. Sometimes I think the world forgot my front door." Evelyn smiled and walked back to the sidewalk feeling hollow. Later that night, she wrote her first anonymous letter, folded it around a paper star she cut from a magazine advertisement, and slipped it into Mrs. Gianni's mailbox the next morning. Dear neighbor, a front door is never forgotten. It simply waits for someone to knock. A Friend on the Wind. The following week, Mrs. Gianni pinned a bright blue ribbon to her door frame. A week after that, she started leaving oranges in a wooden crate beside her steps labeled, "Take one." Evelyn noticed pedestrians actually pausing, lifting fruit, smiling at the sky as if tasting sunshine in advance. She understood then that words could move through the streets faster than any van. Spring came, and Evelyn added handwriting ink cartridges to her grocery list. The letters multiplied. They traveled in her coat pocket to single-room apartments, aching bungalows, and second-floor studios where curtains rarely stirred. She never asked permission. She simply paid attention, imagined what each person might need to hear, and wrote. On the first Monday in May, she stood outside 22B, the peeling paint duplex that housed Mr. Leonard Briggs, retired machinist, Korean War veteran, and possessor of the loudest television in the neighborhood. He'd lived alone since his wife died 7 years earlier. Every afternoon at 3, he set out a platter of crackers, but no one came. Evelyn slipped a letter beneath the rubber flap of his mailbox. Dear Mr. B, they still make the same brand of licorice you once shared with your grandson at the county fair. I saw some yesterday. Traditions wait, like old radios. All you have to do is switch them on. A Friend on the Wind. 2 weeks later, Evelyn turned the corner and nearly collided with Mr. Briggs, who was wheeling a portable wooden radio onto his porch. Swing music drifted toward the street. He waved at several teenagers passing on bikes, then raised a striped bag and bellowed, "Anybody want licorice? First piece is free if you can name the song." The kids laughed and stopped. Evelyn kept rolling her cart as if she had witnessed nothing at all, but her throat tightened with secret pride. There were others. Claire Singh, the shy college dropout working double shifts at the corner mart, received a letter shaped like a small square with drawing-pinned corners that read, "Nobody at your old campus believed in you as much as the lady who counts her change into your palm each morning. Remember how she calls you dear heart? Believe her. She sees clearly." Claire later enrolled in evening classes and posted a flyer on the shop's window. First Gen Study Group, 2s and 3s. The flyer stayed up until the dean of the community college copied the idea for other neighborhoods. Evelyn's own life, in contrast, felt almost ordinary. She lived in a rented 2-bedroom upstairs from her cousin Mateo, who made tamales for the farmer's market and pestered her to try salsa lessons. Between morning routes and evening letter writing, she had no real time to be lonely. Yet sometimes she heard emptiness ringing in the hallway, especially since her father's death 2 years before. He had been a mail carrier too, famous for telling jokes from behind door frames. She often pictured him on a sunlit block, arms outstretched under a rain of envelopes. That vision kept her handwriting steady. By autumn, a whole constellation of secret correspondences shimmered across District 9. But one address remained stubbornly dim. 7 Maddox Lane, the weather-stained Victorian where 17-year-old Harper Kincaid had barricaded herself after a rumor went viral at school. Evelyn saw Harper's mother drive off each dawn for her nursing shift, leaving the girl inside with blackout curtains, flickering screens, and a dog that paced circles in the front yard. Evelyn knew Harper's face only from the photo that still clung to the student council banner on City Hall. A confident smile, copper braids, a "Vote for Me" sash. According to neighbors, the girl hadn't shown that smile in months. Evelyn spent 5 evenings drafting Harper's letter. She tore up each attempt. Generic encouragement sounded insulting. Lecturing would backfire. Finally, she wrote, "Dear Harper, do you know how a camera flash works? It builds electricity inside a tiny tube until it leaps out as light. That leap lasts 1/1000 of a second, but it's bright enough to leave an after image on the eye. People may blink and see ghost light for minutes. That's you. You flashed once. The after image hasn't left. If you ever feel like switching on again, even for another 1,000 of a second, the world would notice. P.S. The dog looks restless. Walkies? A friend on the wind." She folded the letter into the shape of a camera, creased edges for a lens, and tucked it into the mailbox. Days passed with no sign. Evelyn worried she had pushed too personally. But on the second Friday, she found Harper's mailbox empty except for a single sheet of notebook paper. "Dear friend, I took Beagle," his actual name, "around the block. He forgot how to heel, and I forgot how to wave. Still, thanks. H." Evelyn clutched the reply like treasure. A rule she'd given herself early on was never to answer the responses. The magic required mystery. But her fingers itched to write again, to nudge Harper one step farther outside. She squeezed the paper, slid it into her coat, and forced herself to honor the rule. The city prepared for winter. Wreaths appeared, gutters filled with frost-dry leaves. One Wednesday, a storm of unusual ferocity pulled down 6 power lines by Riverside Drive. Postal supervisors ordered every worker to finish early. Evelyn raced through Oak Terrace, head bent against the sleet, and almost skipped number 19 until she noticed the porch lights still dark at 4 p.m. Number 19 belonged to Professor Elliot March, a widower who received weekly large print editions of the Times literary supplement, but rarely ventured outdoors. Earlier that month, Evelyn had dropped him a letter quoting Emily Dickinson, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul." Below the quote she wrote, "Bird seed is sold 2 blocks east at Tilly's. You could buy some, just saying." Now, in the storm, she remembered the uneven walkway up to his door and the fact that he used a cane. Impulse overrode caution. She parked her cart, climbed the slick steps, and peered through the side light. Inside, Professor March lay sprawled beside an overturned lamp. Evelyn dialed emergency services, then knelt, pressing 2 trembling fingers to his wrist. A slow but steady pulse answered. She stayed until paramedics arrived, leaning near his ear so her voice wouldn't shiver. "Hold on. The birdseed can wait." He was carried out conscious. Before the door shut, Evelyn slipped a sheet from her pocket, blank on one side, and placed it on the hall table. Later she would realize she had left fingerprints, perhaps even a partial clue to her identity. But in that moment, all she could think was that her secret letters had met their sender. The separation between her 2 selves no longer made sense. That night, sleepless, Evelyn made a decision. She would reveal the project publicly, carefully, to save her job and honor the growing web of kindness before someone else uncovered it haphazardly. But how? Mateo provided the spark. He burst into her kitchen, flour on his cheek, waving a flyer. The neighborhood council planned its first winter window walk, inviting residents to stroll block by block viewing homemade decorations. "You should help coordinate," Mateo insisted. "You know everybody's porch like the back of your hand." Evelyn stared at the paper. A walking route, labeled house numbers, dark streets waiting to be lit. Perfect. She would fold her confession into the event itself. During lunch hours, she drafted formal letters, this time on stationery bearing the City Postal Service seal, to 20 households that had received anonymous notes. She pretended the letters were generic event announcements, but inside she printed personalized paragraphs. "You once danced to radio static with strangers on bikes. You hung a blue ribbon that still flutters. You walked the dog and remembered how to wave." At the bottom she wrote, "If you recognize yourself here, please place a small lantern, or flashlight, or even a cell phone glow on your porch the night of the window walk, 7 p.m. Consider it a signal flare. Your friend on the wind will be passing by." The evening of the event arrived crystalline cold, breath fog turning everyone into temporary steam engines. Families poured onto sidewalks, clutching travel mugs of cocoa. Kids caroled off-key. Teenagers posted stories to social media. Local reporters adjusted scarves around microphones. Evelyn, wearing her uniform beret and a postal blue wool coat, pushed an empty cart decorated with tinsel bulbs. She had cleared her schedule with her supervisor, claiming she would help with municipal liaison. That was technically true. At the first block, she saw only traditional decorations. Doubt prickled. Perhaps she had overestimated the letter's impact. She kept moving. Then at number 32, a gleam like molten gold shimmered against the siding. Mrs. Gianni's porch blazed with not one lantern, but 16, each with a strip of ribbon, blue, green, red, draped across the handle. She stood outside, waving to passers-by. A bowl of candied orange slices extended. When she spotted Evelyn, her smile brightened further. Did she know? Across the street, music drifted. Mr. Briggs's wooden radio perched beside 3 hurricane lamps. Teen bikers lounged on the steps, munching licorice. They greeted Evelyn by name. Something in the air lifted, as though strings connecting houses had tightened, pulling everyone a little closer. Around the next corner, cell phones glowed from Claire Singh's apartment balcony, spelling thanks in Morse code. ... dash 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 ... A group of college-age students clustered below, reciting flashcard definitions for each other and laughing. Evelyn's chest felt weightless, yet she still hadn't confessed. She had only gathered witnesses. Near the midpoint of the walk stood City Hall's low stage, where the council president planned to announce raffle winners. Mateo had arranged for Evelyn to speak first about postal holiday safety. When she stepped to the microphone, the wind flicked stray hair across her face. Hundreds of lanterns shimmered along the surrounding street like a tide of quiet stars. She cleared her throat. "Good evening, neighbors." Her voice quavered and caught. She tried again. "I'm mail carrier Morales. Most of you know me just as Evelyn." A cheer rose. "There's something I need to tell you." She described simply how one winter's dusk she had written the first anonymous note. How each kind act she witnessed afterward convinced her to write more. How she never imagined the letters would travel beyond a mailbox. How she only wanted lonely corridors to feel less empty. Silence followed, heavy and hesitant. Somewhere a popcorn machine crackled. Evelyn inhaled a brittle lungful of cold. Then Mrs. Gianni called, "Show us the handwriting." She held aloft an envelope. Ripples of laughter broke the stillness. Mr. Briggs saluted with a licorice stick. Claire flashed a thumbs up from her balcony. Harper Kincaid emerged near the back of the crowd. Beagle tugging at his leash, her copper braids newly woven. She raised a phone light above her head. One by one, others flicked on flashlight apps, lifted lanterns higher, or angled porch lights outward until the entire block glowed bright as noon. Camera flashes popped, 1/1000 of a second after images, and in each strobe Evelyn saw the same thing. Faces turned not toward her but toward one another, discovering that the light belonged to all of them now. Afterward, the council president leaned close. Technically, inserting unsanctioned material into mailboxes violates federal statute, he murmured. Evelyn's knees nearly buckled, but he continued. However, tonight I doubt anyone will lodge a complaint. In fact, we'd like to commission an official Letters for the Lonely program under your guidance, he winked, with return addresses this time. The next morning, Evelyn reported to the depot expecting disciplinary paperwork. Instead, her supervisor presented a laminated certificate, Community Connector Award. "Don't make me regret it," she grumbled. "Also, here's a truckload of donated stationery." The secret had become seed, sprouting new branches. Retirees volunteered to write notes at the senior center. Third graders practiced penmanship by mailing jokes to shut-ins. Local businesses offered postage credits. Harper created a website where residents could request or offer handwritten encouragement. Professor March, home from the hospital, posted weekly allegory essays for the initiative. Through all this, Evelyn kept walking her route. The job had not changed, but the world inside it had. People beckoned from stoops, waved through curtains, handed over letters addressed to others. Even on days when rain blurred street signs, she carried a sense of invisible music playing between mailboxes. One Tuesday in early spring, she found a plain envelope in her own apartment mailbox. No stamp, no return, only her name. Inside lay a single folded paper star and a note. "Dear friend on the wind, we know you never expected reply. But even a wind needs direction sometimes, and every compass is made of borrowed metal. Consider this ours. Whenever you wonder if you did enough, walk 2 steps and look behind. You'll see the rest of us walking too. With gratitude, your neighborhood." Evelyn pressed the star flat against her palm. Somewhere overhead, a sparrow cut across the bright sky. She imagined plumes of handwritten words lifting off roofs, streaming past chimneys, looping around telephone wires, messengers cheerfully ignoring gravity. She locked the apartment, tucked the note next to her heart, and headed out to make deliveries, the cartwheels humming a melody she half recognized. Her route stretched forward like a wide ribbon of possibility, each house another envelope, sealed but waiting to be opened, waiting for someone to trust that inside could be light.